the third and final time we're going to start this, but I have no idea what was going on then. But this is your Be Lucky Weekend Review podcast, the podcast that discusses the good, the bad, the ugly, and allows you to have your say. So do feel free to put your comments into the chat room on whatever streaming platform you are on. I can see them all. Do feel free that if you're coming on your mobile phone, turn it to landscape. There is a call-in feature there, and you can get involved with this show. The topics we're going to be discussing today are Champions Day big price winners. Tactical genius is the key to being a top flat jockey. The truth is, the market always falls for false ratings. Is Buick only worth backing at Newmarket? Lack of trainer competition in Ireland's flat scene. How bad is that American Grand National if Zanahiyr can win it? Cheltenham returns this week, but the BHA keep wanting to make unnecessary changes, and Haggis speaks out on the Nick Luck Show. Let's start with a question to the crowd. Will Cheltenham moving from the Tuesday to the Friday to the new slot of Wednesday to the Saturday, will that have any positive effect whatsoever? Or should the BHA just keep their nose out of the only thing that works in the national hunt sphere? And should they focus their attention elsewhere? Let me know if you think having a Saturday for the Gold Cup will suit, or is it just a pointless exercise that the BHA are trying to find something to get their grubby little paws into? Let's start with the good. Despite being an ombudsman backer, Calandigan stamped his authority on the Champions Stakes at the weekend. This was an excellent performance, and it's one I actually thought exposed ombudsman a bit. It exposed his pace, and Calandigan, a 4-year-old that just keeps improving and improving, looks set to race on as a 5-year-old. I think he's going to be exceptional again next year if he follows the improvement that he's shown this year. He just looked so darn good, didn't he, at Ascot? I thought he was comfortably on top of Ombudsman. I think that exposed Ombudsman, and Calandigan is the new kid on the block. Calandigan, the standout horse for me of the entire season. If you've got an opinion on that, do let me know. Charles Hills deserves a good mention in this good section. He kept faith with Cicero's Gift following an injury way back in 2023 in the St James's Palace, when he was continuously denied a clear run in that Group 1 to finish 7th. He's been so patient with his horse. He gave him a gelding operation, a wind operation, and he's been rewarded with Group 1 success at a whopping 100 to 1. I hope you had a couple of quid on Mr. Hills. Great training performance there. And this is, again, it's another subject that we need to discuss, really. How do you feel about 200 to 1 and 100 to 1 winners on a day like Champions Day? Is it good for the game? Is it bad for the game? I've got my own thoughts, but I'd love to discuss it with you. If you've got any thoughts on that, drop it in the comments section. We just mentioned the 200 to 1 shot. That was Powerful Glory winning the Champion Sprint. He's in the good section because Richard Fahey was operating at his lowest strike rate this season since 2001. And he's managed to turn his year around at the final hour with that 200 to 1 victory of Powerful Glory. A horse that he held in high regard. He made no secret of how well he regarded this horse, Powerful Glory. He booked the brilliant straight track specialist at Ascot, Jamie Spencer. Gave him a fantastic ride here. Spencer's just operating at the highest level, especially on that Ascot straight track. He's just a brilliant, brilliant rider. And he's just fantastic. Moving on, keeping with the good, Gordon Elliott hit a 5-timer in America over the weekend. The highlight was Zanahiyr winning the American Grand National. This is great for Gordon. 5-timer, brilliant. Look, this was a poor race. He beat Ballysacks Hank, who was rated 122 over hurdles, and he beat him narrowly. It's worth 100 grand, 120 grand to the winner. Why are there not more trainers going over and taking advantage of this? Why is Nicky Henderson not sending the to Lou Lamber over there to go and win a Grand National? He says all the time that he can't win a Grand National. There's an American Grand National sitting there. Lou Lamber go and mop that up. 120 grand in the back pocket. Thank you very much. But fair play to Gordon Elliott. He's spotting these little early season targets, and he is picking up some decent cash. Gordon always looks to strike early in the season, and he's done so here with Zanahiyr. here. Surely they should make Champions Day like the Breeders' Cup. Win and you are in, and then you have to earn your spot. Well, this is interesting, Rizzo, because I was actually going to say about Champions Day, should there be a qualifying criteria for it? Now, the horses that were winning at big prices in those Group 1s were winning at that level for the very first time. Should you have to win a Group 1 throughout the season to qualify to run on Champions Day? Or am I just being an absolute bore? Now, I know these 100 to 1 and 200 to 1 winners are fantastic headlines, but for us punters, they're not really great feelings, are they? Let's be honest. Although I will admit, when you've tipped one in the race and it's finished fourth and the race is won by 100 to 1 chance, a lot of feeling goes away from any horse that you've tipped, and it's all focused on the winner. But I do have to ask the question, do you think that horses should have to qualify to run in Champions Day by winning in a Group 1 on Champions Day by having won a Group 1 earlier that year? I think they should. Haggis spoke out on Luck on Sunday about jockeys playing dirty. He was targeting this at Oisin Murphy. I think this was excellent to see. I must be honest, too many times in this sport are people so scared to say it how it is. You know, well done, William Haggis. Lead by example. This is professional sport. If you cannot call out bad rides and you can't call out dirty tactics, then Jesus Christ, what on earth are we doing? Why are we being silenced about talking about these sort of things? I think that's insane, really. Honestly, I think it's insane, but I'm so happy to see William Haggis putting his neck on the line there and really telling it how it is. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was the thing of the week for me in terms of the good, the bad, the ugly. I thought the best part of the week was seeing William Haggis speaking his mind on Luck on Sunday. We move on to the bad and Champions Day. Again, we were just speaking about this just then. Rizzo brought up a brilliant point if you missed it. Surely they should make Champions Day like the Breeders' Cup. Win and you're in, and then you have to earn your spot. Is Champions Day currently worth the name Champions Day after those 100 to 1 and 200 to 1 winners of Group 1 races? There was a 40 to 1 winner of the Champions Stakes last year, 40 to 1 winner of the Sprint Stakes in 2023, 22 to 1 winner of the Fillies and Mares in 2023, a 33 to 1 winner of the QE2 in 2022. Is this really Champions Day? Is this the time of year? I'm not entirely sure, but normally this meeting has been run on slower ground than horses would have seen for most of the season. To me, that just makes no sense. How do you crown a champion on unfavoured conditions? I think they've got this whole Champions Day all backwards. I totally get what they're trying to do, end out the season with a big bang. But for me, I don't think it's working. I don't know whether it's the time of year. I don't know what it is. But honestly, I do not feel like it's working. Maybe that's me just being a bit moody because we had 100 to 1 and 200 to 1 winners. But I don't think you should be seeing that sort of thing in Group 1 contests. It says one or two things. It says either the crop of horses we've got are not that great, especially when you look at Powerful Glory. No disrespect to Richard Fahey, but he had not beaten one rival home, I don't think, or he'd beaten 2 rivals home this season in 2 races. I don't know. Champions Day, I think, is a bit of a stretch for me. I'm not sure how you feel about it. Also, with the bad. Okay, now this is going to ruffle a few feathers, I think, but I don't really care, to be honest. Tactically aware jockeys, I am telling you now, are the difference between an average jockey and the best jockey. Now, we're talking about Kalpana's race here, and we're talking about Estrange in second. Okay? Now, Kalpana won an identical race as she did the year before. What happens is and it's the same with all of these fillies races on the flat, really. You can find loads of examples of it across the entire season. They tend to go pretty steady and then they quicken for home. Last year, Kalpana pushed up, sat second or third, quickened away, beaten Wingspan. This year, she did exactly the same thing. Now, nothing wrong with that. Colin Keane, well played. Look, tactically aware jockey, Group 1 jockey. That's why Juddmonte have got him for little things like that, because he understands the game. He understands where he needs to be in these sort of races. But Daniel Tudhope doesn't. So draw 1 was a supposed poor draw, but I'm not having an inside draw anywhere. It's a poor draw. I think it's all about how you play out your tactics. Now, I thought stall 1, Danny Tudhope would have been forced to push Estrange forward to sit 3rd or 4th in that sort of boxy area. I thought getting up that rail, getting a good position, holding your position, and then going and kicking and taking the race when you wanted, I thought that's what he would have had in his head. Now, maybe he was a little bit too keen, but for me, he just let the race develop in front of him and then went chasing the race. Whereas a jockey like Colin Keane will go and make the race happen. And Oisin Murphy will go and do what he wants with that race. And William Buick, normally, but probably not at Ascot, would go and make the race his own. Grab it by the bollocks and go and really, run his own race. Whereas there is a lot of jockeys out there who are always going to be average jockeys because they are just going to sit there and allow the race to develop and just hope that their horse can get there, rather than being tactically aware. That was my annoyance with Daniel Tudhope. And to be honest with you, I was annoyed because I knew this is how I just knew this is what he was going to be like. I knew he didn't really have it in him to go and just grab this Group 1 by the scruff of the neck. So, no guts, no glory, Mr. Tudhope. You did annoy me a little bit there on Estrange. William Buick as well seems a bit of a different jockey, doesn't he, on Ascot's round course. Time and time again, he seems to get the fractures wrong, was forced wide. Ombudsman, he was not good enough to beat Calandigan anyway, but I mean, I don't know if it was the horse or it was William Buick, but he was given an exaggerated hold-up ride here. And this horse, Ombudsman, just seems to have, throughout his career, and since William Buick has got on him, has just dropped further and further and further back in the field when he's been running. He was making the running this time last year over in France, and all of a sudden now he's held up 10, 15 lengths out the back of the field, and he's being asked to do too much. Again, wouldn't have beaten Calandigan in my opinion, but you remember King's Gambit when Buick rode King's Gambit at Ascot last year or the year before? Just gave him so much to do. I'm not sure the round course is a place where I'd want to be back in William Buick. At Newmarket, I'll be all over him. Take me money. He's brilliant, but not at Ascot over the round course, because I just don't think he's that tactically astute. And I think a straight track suits William Buick better than a competitive race going around a bend. That's just my opinion. There was a lot of talk of that before, that Appleby doesn't have enough winners at Royal Ascot. I think he had 15 Royal Ascot winners before this year. 7 of those were on the round course. Buick was free for 15 at Ascot this year. Rebels Romance made all the running on him. Trawlerman made all the running on him. Ombudsman, they went far too hard and he was a class above. Other than that, there was nothing really of note in any of the other rides. They were very, very average rides. But he rounds off the bad section, the ugly section. The ugly section. Aidan O'Brien landed 6 of the 7 races at Leopardstown on Saturday. Now, is there a lack of real trainer competition in Ireland on the flat? You could easily argue over jumps as well, but the likes of Gavin Cromwell are starting to fire and come through. Gordon Elliott's a bit of a competition there amongst other trainers. But on the flat, who has given Aidan O'Brien any sort of sleepless night? I really, really don't know. So that's got to be. I know we're always very critical of sort of the jump season when it comes to everyone wants to moan about Willie Mullins having all the best horses, etc. Why do we not hear that on the flat about Aidan O'Brien? Why do we not? Honestly, why? Where are all the good flat trainers in Ireland? Call in all the good flat trainers in Ireland. Where are you? Where are you? Punters continue to be stung by backing horses in the market that have false ratings. Now, this is about words of truth at Ascot on Saturday. Matt Chapman walking around the pre-parade ring, speaking to Charlie Appleby like this was some sort of good thing, absolute good thing. Charlie thought, yeah, he's a good thing. He's rated 112 if the ratings are right, Well, What the fuck? The ratings were not right. He was only put up to that rating following his latest victory. Time before that, if you went through the bare form and looked at the collateral form as well, you would have seen that he was nowhere near worthy of a rating of 112. Considering the likes of Wise Approach, what Wise Approach has achieved, he's rated 114 from the same yard. This was a ridiculously short price in the market. Now, before anyone starts calling me an after-timer, he was advised as a lay bet in the membership. He was advised as a lay bet, okay? So I'm not after-timing here. But my God, let's have some common sense. For whatever reason, the handicapper always wants to put these 2-year-old ratings right up there. They want to shove them right up there. We'll get them above 100 as quick as possible, up to the mid-1 and I have no idea why. There will be horses that are rated 109 and 108 through defeat as 2-year-olds and will spend their 3-year-old season and part of their 4-year-old season trying to come down the handicap because they've been rated far too high. Words of Truth, a prime example of this on Saturday with that rating of 112. Just go careful of 2-year-old ratings. Please do not trust them. Please do not trust trainers saying they're a good thing just based on ratings. Please be a little bit more savvy when it comes to that. Now, I just want to quickly rewind before we go on to the villain of the week and talk about Cheltenham. Do you think Cheltenham moving to Wednesday to Saturday would be beneficial to anybody? Has anybody got an opinion on this? Tony's back in. Has anybody got an opinion on whether they think the move of Cheltenham, of the Cheltenham Festival to Wednesday to Saturday is going to be beneficial to anybody? Silence. So I'm going to take that as a fucking no. Right, villain of the week. That brings us nicely on to the villain of the week. The BHA trying to tackle Cheltenham, trying to keep messing around with the festival, moving the Mayor's Hurdle and putting it on a Thursday, leaving us with 4 handicaps on the opening day of the Cheltenham Festival, which is called what? Champions Day. Champions Day with 4 handicaps makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I just find it absolutely insane that they want to move that race and put handicaps in its place on the Tuesday. The most exciting day of the entire year. We are all up eating our Weetabix and dribbling down our bloody shirts on Tuesday morning because we're so goddamn excited. And now we've got 4 handicaps to get excited about. I know people will say, well, the Mayor's Hurdle was dominated by an odds-on favourite, whatever. But at least we had the Accas running, right? At least we had Lossiemouth, the good thing, running in the Accas. At least people could get excited about an Acca running on to Lossiemouth. Now, punters, I've got a tricky day of 4 handicaps. Tony has been in touch and Tony has said, would you have the FA Cup final on a Friday afternoon? Absolutely not, Tony. I totally get that. But what I will say in that regard, right, is that the Gold Cup will end up clashing with the football on the Saturday. The football will always beat racing, no matter what. Whether it comes to viewers, attendances, whatever. It doesn't matter what event it is. Maybe the Grand National, but football will always beat racing. I do not want to see it on a Saturday because Friday gives it its own feel. Friday afternoon, everyone wants to finish at work early to watch it or whatever. You stick it on a Saturday, you're going to have lots of competition with the football. This is our Gold Cup. Let's just give it its own day. I don't feel the need. I don't think they should be moving it to a Saturday. That's just my opinion. But the answer is to stop ripping people off and the numbers will go up. I totally agree. Stop pissing around with the Cheltenham Festival, in my opinion. Nev says it's a savage decision to move the Gold Cup to a Saturday. It's a savage decision to move the Mayor's Hurdle from Tuesday to Thursday as well. But the mind boggles. These people who are in charge, honestly, it just baffles me. Right, that's the end of the review. Let's open the floor for anyone's questions or any discussion points from over the weekend or anything you like, actually. This is your show. You can talk about anything you like at all. Nevs has said, do you stick to your point system and went back in anti-post, 1 point, 2 point, etc. for the Cheltenham Festival? And do you accumulate exposure above your max 5 points value over time if confidence grows? Very interesting. Yes, I certainly do stick to the point system when I'm backing anti-post. And I do accumulate more exposure than 5 points maximum. But there is also a good opportunity with anti-post betting to lay those bets off closer to the line. And yes, I will basically be backing any horse sort of anti-post at that given time. So, for example, if I'm backing a horse now at 20-1 and I want to have a point on that horse at 20-1, and then in 6 weeks' time, that market has completely changed, but I still think that horse is outstanding value at 20-1. It might be better value a few weeks down the line than it was at the time that I was betting it. I would then maybe have 2 points on it, and then, when the 2 weeks out from the race, for example, say it's a 10-1 shot, but I now make it a whatever 6-1 shot, then I will again go in again. And yes, you will have a cumulative exposure over the max 5 point value, but that's just the way it is. It's playing the prices and the race at different times throughout the year, right? So you are going to sometimes have a little bit too much exposure, maybe not enough, and you can lay that off and you can do different types of bits and pieces on the day. You can back other horses to cover it. There's lots of different things you can do. But yes, I will, over the season, of course, accumulate more exposure than the 5 point value. Tony says, in the changes this year, they've made... what did Tony say? In the changes this year, they've made changes to try make it less crowded for a better race day experience than they do change it to Saturday to try and get more in. Yeah, I mean, look, I just don't know I don't know why they think that the changes that they make are sort of... just make it cheaper. Like you say, make it a better race day experience. Stop fucking around with the actual product. It's the only product in the National Hunt racing that works. The Cheltenham Festival is the only product in National Hunt racing that actually works. They keep pissing around with the West Country Festival. They're pissing around with the Chepstow 3-day meeting now. We've got Newbury's meeting, which does work, and we've got lots of other bits and pieces throughout the season. The program, that's what they should be focused on, not messing around with the product that actually works, in my opinion. Todd, do you have a bet in the shops, and what's your views on the current state of play being discussed, whether the majority could be closed? This has been long-term. This has been a long time coming, Todd, I'm afraid, and there's been lots of bookmakers that have been making strides a lot earlier than people actually realise since last year to put themselves in a better position because they knew that this tax rise was coming. Basically, you'll see Betfair have laid loads of people off, myself included. You'll see shops being closed all over the place. All of these things are already, the wheels are already in motion on all of these things. You've got Sky Bet and Betfair looking to merge. I know they're already merging under the same umbrella as in Flutter, but they're looking to merge. You'll see the sites sort of changed on Sky Bet to look more like Betfair. There's so many changes coming, and this has been happening since sort of last December. And it's just, I was hoping it wasn't ever going to happen, but it looks like it very much is going to happen. I do bet in shops. It's just sad. It's sad to see. It's sad to see betting shops closed. Look, it's the way of the world at the minute, right, Todd? It's the way of the world. Gotta go careful what I say, really, because it does piss me off. But yeah, that's it. Do you ever look at things like jockeys' travels? Sean Bowen, Sedgefield, Plumpton for one ride, Perth tomorrow. Lovely touch, landed today, and your only selection landed too. Thank God. Yes, I do look at travel. I do. It would not be the first thing I'd be looking for, but I do look at travel. I look at whether jockeys are going up for one ride or not, or how far they're going to be going, and trainers, how far they've gone for, say, a runner on the card. There's lots and lots of angles like that you can look at. It doesn't always pay off, but it can give you a bit of self-confidence behind any given selection. So I'd always try and look at that fact after I like the horse, for example. Do you think there should be a better system for testing than going and putting a stick in the ground, travelling back from Hampton, which was good to firm place the track was underwater? Yeah, I think turf tracks and that do a good job, to be honest. I just think that the information being relayed to punters should be far more clear, really. And I think they should be looking at the ground and everything else like that with punters in mind, to be honest, because I do think they get they're very easily miss punters. Sort of, punters get left in the dark. You know, it comes when you see some low sun and the hurdles are removed right at the last minute to change the race into basically what is a bumper. No one gives a shit about the punters. No one gives a shit about the punters when it comes to ground either. I wish that they would just put punters at the forefront of the mind, because at the end of the day, punters are the ones that are propping up the sport. Guys, thank you very, very much. We'll leave it there. Please do consider getting involved over the next couple of weeks when we really gear up for the National Hunt season on this podcast, because this is a podcast for you to have your say, talking about all the big subjects that happened over the weekend. Until next time, everybody, be lucky.